He is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. WWE Hall of Famer, pro wrestling legend, Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret, great to have you back here in Nashville.
Great to be here.
You're here for the Crossfire wrestling event that's going on this weekend, and what's great about this event is the fact that a lot of the proceeds are benefiting the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and what better cause than to grant wishes to kids with life-threatening illnesses, and this money's going to go a long way towards helping that cause.
I hope we get a great turnout, because $2 from every ticket is going to be donated to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So everybody loves Make-A-Wish Foundation. It's part of it that really touches your heart, that really makes a difference for kids that have terminal disease and things like that. So it's a great cause, and all the wrestlers are excited about the show. And, I hope we have a great crowd and a good turnout to over.
What's it like for you, Bret? So many years in the business to still have people want to see you, want to meet you, want you to come to their shows. They want to meet Bret the Hitman Hart. You've had millions of fans around the world. Does it still give you a thrill to meet fans and to be a part of this business?
It gives me a thrill to meet fans that that love wrestling and love what I did and remember me in particular. And, Nashville, when I got the call or the opportunity to come back here, it's a place where there's a lot of rich history in wrestling, and I wrestled in Nashville for at least 14 years in WWE, and every time I came here I had a great match. I had some great history here with tag team matches going back to Jim Night, our foundation, and Jimmy Hart, who's from here. We had a great history here, and the building was always filled with fans that loved wrestling, were passionate about it, and when you wrestle 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years, and then 14 years, and all these years later, they still remember all that. They never forget, and that's why coming back here is so important to me, because we're some of the greatest fans in the world, and I remember them, and I hope they remember me.
I think part of the reason for that appeal is just the fact that not only were you a great technical wrestler, you were an outstanding storyteller in the ring. And I think people remember that. I think people remember that when you see a Bret Hart match, you know that the Hitman's going to give everything he has, for whether you're working 12 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, Iron Man match, whatever it was. They knew night in and night out they were going to get the best from Bret Hart. So that seemed to be something we really took pride in.
Yeah, I always something ingrained in me before I got into wrestling as a kid was to give my best every night. And I was lucky in the sense, I think whenever I came to Nashville, I always usually had a pretty damn good match, and people respect that and remember that. And I think I was a little different than a lot of other wrestlers. I think if you really look back to wrestling and how it sort of evolved over the years. The wrestling that you watch today, I think I was a huge influence on how the directions of wrestling took. If you look at, say, Hulk Hogan in the 80s, when wrestling sort of kicked the door open on the entertainment world and became huge, you can always credit Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, for those early days of launching wrestling into the mainstream. But around when the 90s came, wrestling was looking for a new star. And, cartoon character type of wrestler was starting to get a little tiresome. And I think if you look back, a few years later, my era, Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels and the great matches that I had through those days, it was about the wrestling. It wasn't so much, people remember the great storylines that I had, the great wrestlers I worked with. In fact, Jerry Lawler was one of my great feuds that I had for years and years and years. People related to the storylines that I was involved in, and I was lucky that I had some great wrestlers to work with. Mr. Perfect, my brother Owen, and Bulldog, and even Roddy Piper, and some other guys in WrestleManias. But I was lucky I had a rich history, and I'm lucky that the fans here appreciated wrestling enough to remember me now. I was sort of a guy that adores them.
I always wanted to ask you, what kind of pressure was there on you in the early 90s when Hogan left for WCW, and it was clear that you were about to become the guy? Because here you were, a great tactician, maybe not the biggest guy, but an outstanding wrestler, great storyteller, but still that pressure's there because when you're the guy, you have to have the best match on the card every night.
Well, I think, like we moved out of that cartoon era, like we look at, the 80s, guys like Hulk Hogan would think of Bundy and Bear Hug, and they'd go crazy. But it moved on where it's like, okay, we want something else. I think I brought back the focus to not the characters, but the actual wrestling. I had great matches and most consistently started to have some of the best matches at the pay-per-views. If you look back at my matches with Mr. Perfect and Roddy Piper, and even tag team with Hart, we had some great, really matches that weren't so predictable. I think I was a good innovator, and I think I changed the course of wrestling. I think once I became champion, because wrestling in the 80s was quite polluted with steroids. Everyone was a bodybuilder, and guys like Ultimate Warrior had little knowledge about wrestling, but were great, had a great body and self-tickets. But once the drug testing became the norm in WWE, the business took a different direction. It wasn't about the characters anymore. I think I brought the focus back to it's about the wrestling. I'm happy that I think right now, if you go back and you put on any of those matches that I just talked about, they're much more credible. That's the right word. More realistic, and you can get more absorbed into the actual story of the wrestlers telling the story with their bodies. And I wasn't necessarily the greatest, although I was bad, I was not the greatest showman in the sense that I could talk up a match like Hitman or Hulk Hogan or something like that. I was more of a low-key kind of babyface hero or whatever in wrestling. But I think I told the story about when I got in the ring is where I was maybe the best.
Late 90s, the Attitude Era, when you were still in WWE before you went to WCW. What was that like? And with the Monday Night Wars and the Attitude Era, and it was obvious that the business was changing, and it was new, and it was exciting, and I'm sure a lot of the old school traditionalists weren't crazy about it, but was it something where you and the rest of the boys in the locker room got kind of caught up in what was going on, or were you just focused on, what you had to do that night and then getting to the next town the next day?
No, it was a changing time. Everything was changing. The business was changing. When I think back to, say, the mid-90s, the audience was getting sick of the good guy. And starting to kind of go, well, why don't we cheer the bad guy? That whole thing was starting to kind of reverberate across the country. It wasn't necessarily like that in Canada. It wasn't like that around the world. But in the States, where wrestling was the key market, the audience was tired of in a lot of ways, they were tired of me. They were tired of the Hulk Hogan, the good guy. Even John Cena's going through it today.
Oh, yeah.
They want something different. And, if you look back from that time period, some of the most amazing things that ever happened in wrestling was that I like to look back on that night wrestling Steve Austin. He was the bad guy, the worst guy going in, the worst bad guy going in the match. And I was like the best good guy going into the match. And when the match was over, the next day we're on the completely other side of things. And that was a really unique time period to be a good guy in Canada and be a bad guy in the States.
I thought that was one of the most brilliant angles in the history of the business, and I thought you pulled that off better than anyone could have imagined. To be a heel in the United States, and then to go across the border and be a super over babyface, and you were able to flip-flop and do it so well. I mean, was that fun for you? It looked like you were having a lot of fun doing that.
It was a lot of fun, and I remember, and I just was in the Maritimes in Halifax, where we had a flag match or something in Halifax. And in Canada, we often don't get, like you can tell by the Olympics this year, we don't win all the time like the Americans do. you know, it was just a kid. For me, I think I won a flag match. I think Ryan Pillman ran in and cheated Steve Austin at the end. It was the bad guy all the time. The Halifax fans, the Canadian fans, loved it across the country. I remember saying things, showing the flag and waving in the crowd. Those little moments, and then we come back the next week and be in San Antonio or something like that, and haven't won a bill yet. And, it was just such a, it was a really interesting time. It's, in a lot of ways, I'll always look back on it, but that was the best time in wrestling for me. It was so unique, that, and I don't know that it'll ever duplicate that. You know, there was the testimony to the great wrestlers of that era. Steve Austin was one of them. You know, at that time, he was just about there, but he wasn't there yet, and I knew that he was a great wrestler, and it was a matter of time that he would be the star that he is or was. And a lot of other guys, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, even my brother Owen. Like, to me, those are the great wrestlers that I missed and still remember fondly for the abilities that they gave all the time.
You made the tough decision to leave WWE and go to WCW. Kind of an up and down situation there. When you look back on it, if you had it to do over again, would you do the same thing, you think?
No. If I could do it all over again, I'd never go. I'm sorry that I left in a way, but I also, you know, the truth is I don't know that things would have got a lot better for me in WWE. You know, once they have it in for you and they bring the long knives out, there was a lot of backstabbing. You know, I could sense that I better get out of there. I had to get out of there before they threw me there too. But you know, the truth is, I'm sorry that I ever left WWE. I had a rich history, a great history there that I never wanted to lose that connection. I always believed, sadly, that if I had never left, that my brother Owen would probably be alive. I'm pretty damn sure that I would talk about that. We had that kind of relationship where he would come up to me and go, "Hey, they want me to do this," or I would always weigh it up. And I know as soon as I heard the concept, that was after the match. I said, I would have shot that down so fast. I would just know what I know. But you know, those are things you ask yourself forever. And someday when I see Owen, that's what I thought. Ask him what they want to do.
Obviously, you know, when people think about Bret Hart, they think about Montreal and what happened that night. And recently, you and Sean kind of came together and talked and seemed to bury the hatchet. You guys did a DVD on it, which I own and I love, and I watch it all the time. What did it mean for you, and what do you think it meant for Sean to finally come together, talk about what happened, and do your best to move past it?
Well, you know, a lot of people might not realize that Sean and I were really, really close friends for a long time. And the rivalry and the tension between us was more in his head. I mean, I can only say, based on that DVD you're referring to, I was always just trying to draw money. You know, we talked about the truth when we talked about how wrestling sort of exploded with Nitro and Raw and all that. You know, I was a company guy for WWE, and when I came back to them after Iron Man after Sean, I wanted to draw a lot of money with Sean and work with him and sort of take him up even higher. And I did. I think you can see that I excelled Steve Austin.
Absolutely.
Got him up a little higher. I was just trying to pass the torch, and I was really trying to be Vince McMahon's best guy. I was the highest paid guy at the time, and I was just working my heart out to give back to the company and was taking care of me at that time. So I really I was a WWE guy all my life, and I always wanted to, you know, be the guy that supported the company. I never wanted to ever take anything away from them. I mean, you want Vince McMahon to give us the opportunities, but Sean, I think, misread a lot of what my intentions were. Overreacted to a lot of things, and a lot of stuff, maybe from his drug problems to get sort of out there. And it's unfortunate that all that happened. But in hindsight now, I think you know, there's a lot of people that question why I went back, why I should be in the show, whether that was the right thing to do, or whether any of that was the right thing to do. But the truth is, Sean's a really Christian today, a good Christian guy with a lot of higher values than he had back years ago. He beat a lot of the demons. I remember the guy that was my friend. I just found myself after I wrote my book, realizing that I'd sort of become, how I wrote my book and be as honest as I was, that I was the guy that had a lot of hard feelings towards the business industry, against McMahon and Sean, and I was angry and all. You get them to an but I was trying out in Connecticut.
Right, you were the bitter guy.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I said, the truth is I'm grateful for all the good things that the WWE and Vince McMahon did for me, and everything that happened with Sean's, in a lot of ways was a horrible misunderstanding. I think more than mine. But, we both pulled each other's tails, and we were both guilty of that, and we allowed that to escalate to what happened. And so I found that, for me, thinking that I'm sort of going to be remembered as just this bitter guy that has all these hard feelings. I just dawned on me one day that the best simple solution to all of it would be to just forgive it and bury the hatchet with Vince, bury the hatchet with Sean, and make peace with the whole thing for real, once and for all, and then I don't have to carry that around. I got to write my book.
Right.
I got to speak from the heart and say whatever it is I want to say. I'm still really proud of my book. And I wouldn't change one word in it, but at the same time, coming back and shaking hands with Sean and sort of repairing things with Vince was good for Vince, it was good for Sean, it was good for me, it was good for WWE, and most of all, it was good for wrestling.
Oh yeah, definitely, without question. Last one for you, Brett. You mentioned, where the industry's at today, a guy like John Cena, who's basically just following orders and being the guy for the kids, being the guy for the moms, and just being that classic babyface guy. He gets a lot of heat from fans now. They want him to turn heel. They want him to change his character, be more edgy. I know we're in the PG era right now as far as WWE is concerned. Is there a need for another Attitude Era? Do we need another Stone Cold Steve Austin or another anti-hero to emerge to kind of give this business a kick in the pants?
Well, I think wrestling's waiting for the next superstar.
Yeah.
They're waiting for the next guy to pull the sword out of the stone. Right now, it's Cena's the guy. I think that he should stay the course. I don't see him being a bad guy, not being a very good one anyway.
Yeah.
He has the look and just everything about him he's a wholesome, clean, cut kind of guy that people love him for the way he is. And it's very hard. I can relate to John Cena a lot. When you're a hero, instead of our American audience is where he wrestles the most. A lot of that American audience is getting a little tired of John Cena. They're looking for the next star. But everywhere else around the world, they don't see wrestling, as often. It's a tour that comes into town once a year or something like that. John Cena is the greatest hero of all time. So many kids around the world and faraway places like India and Africa. To understand how important that is, maybe it doesn't strike the American wrestling fan quite so as quick as probably something like Vince McMahon realizes that there's a whole world audience that wants to see that good guy. And you have to balance that out. I know that they're in need of some of a new star. I mean, there's a lot of great wrestlers in the WWE today, but I think that in due time that they'll find that new star that's going to, whether it's a Steve Austin type character, or a Bret Hart type character, or a Hulk Hogan type character. There's a new star waiting in the wings somewhere, hasn't been found yet. And I suggest anyone out there that's got wrestling in their blood and wants to be a wrestler, that time is coming, that some kid somewhere in the next 5 years is going to come out of nowhere and become the next big sensation in wrestling. and alleviate some of that pressure from John Cena. He's been a good guy now, or a champion, a guy carrying the company for at least 10 years. And that's a tough time. It's not easy to carry that. And I know I have a lot of infinite respect for John Cena, how hard he works, and how dedicated he is to his fan base and the wrestlers. You know, but watching John Cena in action in the dressing room when it comes time to do business and actually put a match together, he's one of the best. You know, and I have a great respect for him. And, you know, I've been there before where you're still giving 100% every night, but your audience is starting to slip away. I don't know that that's happening so much with him, but I know that there's a lot of fans that resent him. But he's a good hero, and we need him out there.
Well, you've always been a wrestling hero. Bret the Hitman Hart, appreciate the time. Great to have you here in Nashville. Best of luck to you always.
Thank you.